huge connections between major spiritual sites in the globe, and now we know why they're connected. These sites had to be built physically so that the Christ consciousness grid could manifest. In a way, think of the physical sites as the wiring of a giant wireless electrical system, and then it needs about 13,000 years of continuous energy flow for it to actually turn on. And just so that you're not left in suspense, yes, the grid was completed. It came to life and is now active, though not really used. Congratulations, Earth! We actually survived. Not only has Thoth told us this in person, but he's also written it down in the Emerald Tablets. These tablets were left in the Great Pyramid thousands of years ago. There are 12 tablets in total, formed from a substance created through alchemical transmutation. They are imperishable, resistant to all elements and corrosion. Their atomic structure is fixed in place, and no change can ever take place. In that respect, they violate the material laws of ionization. These tablets share a great wisdom, and you can read them at over 100 different levels of consciousness, and you will always understand them differently. If you're interested in this stuff, you should definitely consider reading them. As you can probably tell, Thoth plays a pretty large role in what happened. Most of this information comes from him. Thoth also provided most of this information about the Flower of Life and its geometric relationship to consciousness with us, and this stuff is tied intimately to the geometry of the universe. Considering the quality and quantity of information that he has shared, it makes you really start considering that this next part can be true. The Great Pyramid has a legendary missing capstone. According to the Emerald Tablets, deep under the Great Pyramid there's a room called the Hall of Records. This room was not built by Thoth and long predates the Atlantean civilization. Within the Hall of Records is the capstone of the pyramid, which is 5.5 inches high, solid gold, and completely holographic image of the Great Pyramid. It has all of the little rooms and everything. However, this leaves us with a 24 square foot piece of the Great Pyramid that's missing. If what Thoth says is true, that missing piece actually belongs to a very special airship that exists on Earth. And the way to the airship is through the Sphinx. The Sphinx, according to Thoth, is not 12,000 years old, but dates back over 5.5 million years on Earth. Deep under the Sphinx, about 1 mile down, is a round room with a flat floor and flat ceiling. Inside this room is the oldest synthetic object on Earth. The object is about 2 city blocks in size. It's round like a disc and has a flat bottom and top. It is also only about 3 atoms thick, except for a pattern on the top and bottom which looks like this. This pattern is 5 atoms thick. Thoth says that it's powered by consciousness, thoughts, and feelings, and connects with your own living Merkaba, which means that it becomes an extension of you and your own energy fields. The ship is also intimately connected with the spirit of the Earth, and is the protector for the whole planet. Thoth built the pyramid the way he did to fit with the ship. When on top of the Great Pyramid, it creates this image from above. The disc ship has a circumference equal to the perimeter of the Great Pyramid. As we discussed in Lesson 11, whenever that ratio appears, life occurs. This ship can only be used by the purest of souls. See, whenever we approach the point in the precession of the equinox where our poles do these shifts, we become very vulnerable. Things often degenerate, and while things become chaotic, there are often other species who wish to take us over. This has always happened, not just with us, but with all evolving consciousness. Every time a takeover seems imminent, a very pure person will find their way to the ship and raise it into the air. The Earth and Sun will connect with that person and give him or her great power. Then, whatever that person thinks and feels will happen. And think about it. If consciousness is the primary core component of the entire planet, does it not make sense that it would have its own defense mechanism? This defense is an airship that plugs into the Earth and the Sun, allowing the Earth to have protection. Our takeover event actually already happened, the same year the Christ grid was activated. The year was 1989, and we were having some troubles with the Greys, a race of ETs who were slowly plotting takeover due to a previous scuffle we were having. A very pure woman in Peru made the ascension process into the Christ consciousness grid and found the ship. She tuned it to the frequency of the 4th dimension where she raised it through the Earth and into the air, and manifested a situation for the Greys to leave. Within a very short time, the Greys began getting sick, and remained sick for as long as they stayed here. They have been forced to leave for now, and we are once again safe. The ship is a warship in that whatever race is trying to take over, the person will just think them away, think up a situation, and force them to leave. Returning to the events on Atlantis, after completing the complex in Egypt, Thoth and pals returned to Atlantis where they waited for about 200 years until that critical point on the precession of the equinox where the poles would shift. They knew that Atlantis would sink, and they would be ready.
Alright, you get the idea. Like I said, there's a lot. Sometimes it goes against the grid of your core, but I'll give you some food for thought. Why don't Google Edward Casey? Why don't do some research as far as 4th dimension? Look at the Emerald Tablets. It's easy to brush off, and it's easy to say, oh heck, no, you're right. But things are happening. Things are changing. All you have to do is look at the cycles. Heck, there's places that had tornadoes that's never had tornadoes before. And we're not talking one, we're talking 15, 16. Some houses almost got smashed and they never had tornadoes before. So if you think about it, this thing is not new. I mean, we have, between what the Sumerians had, which is Nibiru, we now have weather engineers too, which that's a Trojan horse for another subject. And we're not going to get on that, but we do. We have HARP. For those that actually know about it, we have HARP. And the reality of it is that they can't, you can't just brush it off anymore. It's not something that can be brushed off because of the simple fact that it's there. Those tornadoes, Hurricane Katrina, you got mixed emotions about that of what caused it. It's not it doesn't really matter what caused it. It matters that the climate is changing. Okay, you can go down to Laguna Beach, California. That's my favorite place, by the way. But you can see right at sunset all these people meditating. This thing it's a fact that things are changing. Now, if you can't wake up to it, it's your fault, because it is a consciousness awakening. That's why I've always said to people, this revolution is not going to be fought with guns. It's going to be fought with consciousness, because it's mostly a war on your mind. Okay, if you think with your heart, you always end up right, because if you think about this, your heart is whole. Your brain has two hemispheres, a left and a right. We're not going to get into that topic right now either. But your heart is whole, and your heart is actually the first organ that develops in the womb. Okay? Now, I understand people are like mixed emotion, or some people really want to learn and wake up. And when you want to learn and wake up, you start to think that it's possible, which it is. It's true. If you think about it, right now we have ultrasounds where you can look inside a woman that's pregnant, that's getting ready to give birth, okay? If you had this woman on an ultrasound the whole time, you would see that at the first part, the first circle that appears, it appears out of nowhere. That's not evolution, because now you're talking about PFM now, right? It appeared out of nowhere. PFM. Pure friggin' magic. Well, I'm sorry, that's kind of awkward to label it, so evolution can't create life now. I didn't say evolution doesn't exist. I said it can't create life. But this circle appears out of nowhere. And there's one that then the next one appears right above it, but they intercorrelate, they intersect. And where they intersect, the two circles together make up the Vesca Pisces. Okay? The Vesca Pisces is actually where all the mathematical knowledge and wisdom is to light. For realistically, you know that light is actually knowledge and dark is lack of knowledge. So the choice is actually where you want to fit in. Do you want to be in the light or in the dark? And if you want to be in the dark with your security blanket, you're not doing yourself or anybody else any good, because you refuse to see, because it goes against your box. Okay? In my first book, Our Brothers in the Sky, I actually drew a diagram of that. I drew a diagram of the box, and that box was trying to symbolize, look, this is how you're thinking. Okay? Your thinking is in a box all by itself. Okay? And if you can't get out of that box, then you'll never get anywhere. Okay? But the box in the top, you have like beliefs. Beliefs is part of that box. Okay, that's your foundations. And you got your schooling, education. It's not really education, because anybody that's got their kids in the school system now, you're realizing that it's just memorization, because the teachers that are teaching now aren't even teachers anymore. Okay, they're very, very average intelligence. Very average intelligence. And most people I know are having trouble with the school district because the teachers are dumber than the parents. We actually sat in a place where our teachers learned, okay? Where our teachers taught. I remember Mr. McCready would have words on the board where we had to look up in the dictionary, get the definition, learn it in a sentence. Okay? So we have to learn what that word meant. It taught you how to research things, and how to understand it, and how to apply it. Okay, so the bottom is your foundation. Okay? The left side is your schooling, and the top is your beliefs and your opinions. And the right side of the box is your education. Your beliefs and your opinions being at the top is what blocks you from getting any farther. It really does. Your beliefs and opinions are the ones that block you from getting any farther because you refuse to see any facts that go against your beliefs. Okay? And I've always said this, and I've said this in my book, and I've said it many times. The scientific answer, or the scientific discovery, or the formula is only as good as the man conducting the experiment. If this person is a full-blown atheist, then his formula is only going to go towards his beliefs. You know, I always tell people, you know, it's good to read the Bible. It's good to read and get foundations. Good to read the Emerald Text. Expands your knowledge. Okay? But a lot of people know that Bible could be used dangerously. David Koresh. Okay? People pick what they want out of it to put their beliefs. It is what causes the most wars, the most violence, because people refuse to see what's past that. Okay, and that's really the problem. If you're not willing to open up yourself to understand there's more out there, if you're not willing to open up yourself to realize that, hey, I don't know everything, I want to learn, I want to be better. If you can't do that, you'll never be better. You know, I always say the best line was in Star Wars when Yoda said, "First, unlearn all that you've learned." You have to unlearn everything and start to learn, because even Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "Education comes after you get out of school, because school is only going to teach you the basics and the indoctrination to what the system wants. Schools ain't going to give you what you need. That only comes after, when you have life experience." So realistically, you are in school the rest of your life. You're willing to learn, to grow, to better. And that's what it's all about. You have to get to the basics, and sometimes it's actually good to stick that little screwdriver in to say, well, what about this? What's going on here? You know, and stir the pot a little bit. Get them to answer. Nobody knows this better than me, and I got to tell you a quick story because we're running out of time here. But when I started, I wasn't at Margarita School the first. I moved out to California. Okay, but I was in a Catholic school. Okay, so I heard all the crap there is. I was in a Catholic school. And the one thing I learned the hard way, you don't question, because they don't have the answers. And if you question them, they're going to hit you with a damn ruler, because I've gotten hit every time. And what I questioned was this, when they said Adam and Eve were the only people on earth. So I asked her, I said, well, how did Cain meet his wife? If they're the only person, where'd she come from? So if you're not learning to question, you're not growing. All right, well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Like I said, I'm running out of time here. We'll be back tomorrow night, and hopefully you got something out of it. You guys take care, and we'll see you tomorrow night.